Sarah sat on the couch, rocking gently as she scrolled aimlessly through her phone. The baby monitor beside her hummed faintly, showing the grainy night vision image of her daughter sleeping soundly in the crib upstairs. At first, everything looked normal, the familiar green-tinted glow, the tiny chest rising and falling. Then, she noticed something in the corner of the screen. A faint flicker, darker than the rest of the shadows. She leaned closer. The shape wasn't part of the crib or the rocking chair, or even the curtains swaying lightly with the draft. It seemed detached, hovering. She blinked, thinking it was just static. But then, the figure tilted ever so slightly, as if craning to look down at the crib. Sarah's stomach knotted. She turned the monitor off, convincing herself it was nothing. The next night, Sarah checked again. This time, the shadow was back, stronger, sharper, undeniably real. Her eyes darted around the room, matching every piece of furniture with what she saw on the screen. But this shape didn't belong. It loomed tall and bent, as if crouching over the crib. She adjusted the monitor, tilted the angle, even wiped the lens with a tissue. Nothing changed. The silhouette remained almost patient, as though waiting for her to keep watching. Every time she blinked, she swore it had shifted slightly closer. Her hands trembled as she shut the monitor off again, whispering aloud, "It's just my imagination. It has to be." By the third night, Sarah was too anxious to sleep. She turned the monitor volume higher, hoping for reassurance in her baby's soft coos and sighs. Instead, she froze. The speaker hissed with static. Then came the sound of breathing. Heavy, distorted. A low, guttural inhale, followed by a rattling exhale, far too deep to come from her infant. Her heart thumped violently as she rushed upstairs, throwing open the nursery door. The baby was fine, asleep in her crib. The room was silent except for the faint whir of the heater. Yet the moment Sarah stepped inside, the breathing on the monitor cut off completely. She checked the corners, under the crib, even behind the door. Nothing. But she left the light on that night. Soon, her daughter began waking at odd hours, shrieking with terror, tiny fists clenching in the air. Each time, Sarah would glance at the monitor before running upstairs, and every time, the shadow was there. Sometimes it swayed like a pendulum. Sometimes it crawled along the wall. Once it even bent forward, as though reaching toward the crib. Sarah's throat would tighten as she threw the nursery door open, but under the light, the figure was always gone. The baby, however, refused to sleep without crying. Her wide eyes staring at corners, Sarah couldn't bring herself to look at too long. Desperate for proof, Sarah set up her phone to record the monitor through the night. When she replayed the footage the next morning, she wished she hadn't. At first, it showed the usual, her daughter stirring, the faint fuzz of static. But then, the shadow appeared. It didn't just stand, it moved, sliding unnaturally across the wall like spilled ink. At one point, it stretched toward the crib, but then slowly turned toward the camera. And in the reflection of the monitor's glow, Sarah saw them. Two faint, gleaming eyes staring directly back at her. Her stomach lurched. Whatever this thing was, it wasn't just watching the baby. It knew she was watching too. The final night came without warning. Sarah had the monitor on, sitting in the living room, her nerves frayed and her eyelids heavy. Suddenly, the screen went black. Static hissed. Then the picture flickered back, only this time, the angle was wrong. It wasn't showing the nursery anymore. It was showing the downstairs living room. Her living room. Sarah's blood ran cold as she stared at the screen. The shadow was there, standing in the doorway, impossibly tall and bent in unnatural angles. Slowly, it stepped closer, closer, until it was nearly filling the frame. Sarah gasped, realizing the feed wasn't just showing the room. It was showing her. The shadow stood directly behind her.